Hey everybody! I have some great stories for you today, so sit back, relax, and let's get into it. My female 36 husband, Ian 44M, is close friends with a woman named Jenna. They've been friends for a long time, before Ian and I got together, so I know her fairly well too, but we really have nothing in common and we're not exactly friends. Jenna's wife, Laura, very sadly and somewhat suddenly passed in early March. She was terminally ill, but responding to treatment very well and was expected to survive another 5 years. She's been leaning on Ian heavily for support, which I understand, but she's been at our house every single day since, and even sleeping in our guest room most nights because she doesn't want to be home alone. Which would be okay, except she is getting more and more passive-aggressive towards me and weirdly territorial of Ian. I've reminded myself that I don't think I could stand to see a happy couple for months if I lost Ian, and to be patient. It's not personal. My birthday was on Sunday. I got home Saturday after a morning out, and Jenna was there. I was making small talk when I asked Ian what time he made dinner reservations for the next day. Jenna inserted herself right here and asked Ian if he was going to be out the next day, and he said yes. She started panicking and saying that he couldn't, and she wasn't ready to spend an evening alone. I was going to tell her that she could still hang out here while we were gone, and she looked at me and said, "Don't you have any freaking friends you can go with?" And I just blew up. "Don't you have any other freaking friends you can go bother?" And so on. She called me selfish for monopolizing my husband, and I had enough and told her to get the frick out of my house and not to come back, ever. Ian had been trying to calm things down between us, but it spiraled out of control fast, and he ended up escorting Jenna out and telling her that he'd come visit her in a few days, but he would be backing my decision because of how she spoke to me. I was happy for his support and still am, but it's been a few days and I just feel bad all around about it. I should have been more understanding of her, but I also feel like she should treat me more respectfully, and I'm not really sure if I overreacted. Look, grief is a monster, but it doesn't give anyone a free pass to be disrespectful in your home. Jenna's behaviour, while understandable to a point, crossed several lines. It's one thing to lean on a friend for support, it's another to become territorial and lash out. Your reaction, though explosive, was a natural response to being pushed too far in your own space. It's clear you've been more than patient, trying to accommodate her during a difficult time. But there's a limit. Everyone has one. Ian backing you up was the right move. It's important to set boundaries, even in the most trying times. Don't beat yourself up for standing your ground. Respect is a two-way street, and it was high time Jenna was reminded of that. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get into the next post. My husband and I travelled down to Mexico to visit my family. I am an American citizen, but my mum and dad are not. My mum and dad got my daughter earrings for her birthday. My daughter's ears are not pierced, and she is only 1 year old. I told them that I would save them for her until she was old enough to get her ears pierced. We left my daughter with my parents while we went to meet up with some friends. When we went to pick up my daughter, my mum showed us that we didn't need to wait because they had taken her to get her ears pierced. I got my daughter, and I dragged my husband out of there before he lost his temper. We went back to our hotel. I am furious. My husband said that my parents are not allowed to spend time alone with my daughter ever again. I went farther. I said that I would not be bringing her or any other kids we might have down here to see my parents. We checked out 3 days early and went home. On the way home, my parents were calling me to see when we were coming over. I ignored all the calls and texts until we were back home in Phoenix. We took a couple of days to think things over and cool down. I finally called them. I asked them not to speak until I was done talking. I told them that my husband and I are upset with them for getting our baby's ears pierced without our permission. I told them that we went back home and probably wouldn't be visiting for a while. They said that my sister and I both had pierced ears when we were babies, and that it did not harm us. I said that we were not going to change our minds. They started getting everyone, including my grandmother, to call me and say I was being ridiculous. I talked with my husband, and we came up with a compromise. We agreed that we would resume visits, but not alone time, with them if they both got their noses pierced. They said that we are being stupid and that they are not going to do that. I said no problem and hung up. We have started blocking anyone who tries to call us and give us trouble for denying my parents their right to see my daughter. Oh, where do I even start? First off, your parents completely overstepped by piercing your daughter's ears without your consent. That's a decision for parents to make, not grandparents, no matter how well-intentioned they might be. And then, to not even have the decency to apologize, but instead rally the family against you, that's manipulative. Your reaction, though, to demand they pierce their noses as a compromise, well, it's creative, I'll give you that. But it's not exactly mature or practical, is it? It's clear you're trying to make a point, but this isn't a playground tit-for-tat. You're dealing with family dynamics and the well-being of your child. Setting boundaries is one thing, but turning it into a circus won't solve the underlying issue of respect and boundaries. Stick to the high road, set clear, reasonable boundaries, and keep communication open without resorting to ultimatums that sound more like revenge plots. Really quick, thank you so much for tuning in to my story times. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. But we must jump into the next post before it gets too dark outside. Both my sister, female 27, and I, female 33, are Caucasian Latinas. However, she has always been more tan than me, a fact she has always been very proud of. For reference, my skin tone is close to Aubrey Plaza's, while hers is closer to Gina Rodriguez's. When we were younger, she would constantly talk about how European I looked compared to her, how my hair looked more blonde than brown, which no one ever agreed with, and how certain colours I liked looked awful on me due to my skin tone. I almost never said anything because I was 6 years older and had better things to do. Also, while I did have many insecurities, I never doubted I was beautiful. Fast forward to now, we both have kids. My husband is a little more tan than me, and both our children, male 8 and female 3, have the same skin tone as their father. My sister's ex and baby daddy, however, was a very pale Swiss guy. My niece, female 5, is a fair-skinned girl with dark blonde hair, while my daughter is more tan and has dark brown hair. Everyone agrees that both girls are beautiful, but their skin tones have always bugged my sister. She insists that both girls are equally tan, that her daughter's hair is light brown, and that my daughter spends too much time in the sun. Last weekend we all had dinner at my father's place. My son brought his notebook and drew pictures of everyone at the table. He coloured my daughter's skin a darker shade than my niece to add orange for my daughter, light pink for my niece. He also gave my niece yellow hair and coloured my daughter's hair black. He lost his brown pencil. When we showed us the drawings, my sister frowned. She said he was exaggerating his cousin's features and that he could at least make her hair darker. When my niece said she loved the drawing, my sister told her it looked nothing like her and insisted my son was doing this on purpose. Before the kids could get upset, I pulled my sister aside and told her she was being ridiculous. We had a very small fight in the next room. Near its end, I said something along the lines of, "Listen to me, your daughter is white. We're all white. You need to accept that and stop comparing the girls if you don't want niece's name to become insecure." We left shortly afterward, and none of the kids have brought anything up again. My sister is pissed at me. She told both our divorced parents about our fight. Our father thinks I shouldn't have commented on my niece's appearance and wants me to apologize to my sister. Our mom thinks this is dumb, I agree, but says my sister is overreacting. Am I the idiot? Yeah, look, your sister has been stirring this pot for years, obsessing over skin tones and projecting her insecurities onto children, which is not okay. Kids should be worrying about what games to play, not the shade of their skin or hair. Your sister's behaviour is not only ridiculous, it's harmful. It's high time someone called her out, and I'm glad you did. This isn't about denying your niece's identity. It's about stopping a cycle of comparison and insecurity that your sister is perpetuating. Your dad might want peace, but sometimes peace comes with confronting the issue head-on, not tiptoeing around it. You stood up for what's right, especially in front of impressionable kids. Don't apologise for that. All right, now for the next post. My parents live in the in-law suite of my house. They pay rent to help me cover the mortgage, but the house is completely mine. Their rent is $600 a month. That includes all utilities, including internet and streaming services. My older sister is pregnant again, yay! And she needs a place to stay as her baby daddy bailed out and moved back to Romania without her. My parents agreed to let her stay with them. They did not ask me, but, like I said, they pay rent and can do as they wish with their living area. My parents have full run of my house except for my bedroom and my office. My dad likes to putter in the garage and plays with my dog. My mum likes to bake in my kitchen and work in the garden. The basement has a kitchen, but it is small and mine is just better all around. Nope, they want me to baby-proof my levels of the house. I asked why I would need to do this, as the kids would 100% not be in my area. My mum said that it would not be fair to keep the kids cooped up in the basement all day. I said that there was a huge yard and sunroom for them to spend time in if they really wanted. My sister said that she couldn't spend all her time cramped up like that with 3 kids. I asked when she found out she was having twins. She shut up. I dragged it out of them that she was planning on watching her friend's toddler for money. I said I did not have insurance for her to run a business out of my house. She said it was all under the table and that she needed money. This was when I said that I would be taking the keys to my area back from my parents, and I was also going to change the locks. I said that I agreed to let my parents live with me to help them out. They agreed to let her move in because she is an irresponsible wench that can't understand birth control. I never agreed to let her use my house as a day home. I know I do not want 3 kids here, along with 4 adults. Well, 3 adults and a pregnant fool. I thought this but did not say it. My mum is mad that I am going to lock them out of my area, but my dad understands. The thing is, I would let him keep a key, but my mum would get it from him, and she would give it to my sister. I said I would leave the garage lock the same, and that was good enough for him. My mum and my sister are upset and giving me the silent treatment. My mum got my dad to ask me if they paid for the insurance, if my sister could watch her friend's kid. I agreed, but I did say that they should get my sister to pay it. Look, your house, your rules. It's as simple as that. You've been more than accommodating by allowing your parents and now your sister to live under your roof. The fact that your sister wants to start an under-the-table daycare in your home without even consulting you is beyond presumptuous. It's downright disrespectful. You're not running a community centre. It's your private residence. And let's not even start on the liability issues with her little scheme. Changing the locks and setting boundaries is not only reasonable, it's necessary. Your mum and sister being upset is a classic case of wanting to have their cake and eat it too. You've made a fair compromise regarding the insurance, but don't let them guilt you into more concessions. Stand your ground. But we must continue on, so here's the next post. So I, female 21, have been friends with Laureen, female 22, for 17 years now, and we're really close. She recently gave birth to her daughter, and she and her husband recently told us the name. They decided to name their daughter Juliette, pronounced Juliet, and her middle name is Maria. I thought the spelling was a joke until she told me they are serious. I told her that with that spelling of a simple but beautiful name is just going to ruin that little girl's life. She got mad and told me to stop ruining her mood and that I'm being mean. I'm completely honest. The spelling is just bad. Nothing else can explain it. Why ruin such a beautiful name by including letters that don't belong there? I texted her yesterday and told her that the little girl will try to change her name, or at least go by her middle name since it's normal. She told me to stop texting her, that I'm a bad friend and that I'm being the jerk for making fun of the name. I don't think I am. When I told her that the spelling is just bad, she went crazy. She told me that I'm the worst friend ever and that I would never be able to see her daughter again. After that, her husband sent me an email telling me to stop being so disrespectful. He thinks the spelling is cute and it just makes her unique. Unique, yes. But that's just going to make that little girl suffer, and she will probably be bullied for that spelling. I haven't replied, and honestly, I don't think I'm the jerk here. But I thought I'd ask Reddit, since y'all are the best to judge. So, am I the jerk for telling my friend that the name she gave her daughter is bad and will ruin her life? Now for an update. All right, I get it. I'm the jerk for going after the name more than once. Sorry for that. I just sent her an apology text for doing it. Yet I did write how she should try to look at it from another perspective. I also sent a few screenshots of the comments just for her to see what other people think of it. FYI, I'm supposed to be the godmother, which is why I was extra worried. My bad. Now for another update. Hello again. I've been asked if there are any updates, and yes, there are. So I've been talking with Laureen a lot over text, and she's slowly starting to notice her mistake. I apologised again, and we are good again. We talked about the name, and she told me that she won't change it and really loves it, but is slowly understanding why it's weird for others, especially me. Her husband, on the other hand, is still pretty mad at me. He thinks that I took it too far and that my apologies aren't from the heart. I've been asked if I'm still the godmother, and yes, I am. There were thoughts of changing it, but now that we get along again, I'm back in the role, back to the husband. He actually blocked me everywhere and is telling Laureen to do so too, because he thinks that I'm manipulating and that I'm lying just so we can get close again. Doesn't make sense? IDK. Well, either way, it's getting better with the relationship, just not with the name. Look, I get it. You're worried about the kid. But here's the thing, ... IT quote, S not your child. Critiquing the name once may be understandable if you're really close, but continuing to push the issue, sending texts, and even screenshots of others' opinions, that's overstepping. It's their choice, no matter how much you disagree. And let's be real, kids can be named anything these days. Yes, the spelling is unconventional, but it's hardly the end of the world. The real issue here is how you're handling your concern. It's coming off as disrespectful and obsessive rather than supportive. You've apologised, which is good, but maybe it's time to genuinely let this go and respect their decision. Focus on being a friend and godmother, not the name police. But we must jump into the next post before it gets too dark outside. So, my husband, 38 years old, and I, 36 years old, are expecting our first child, a bouncing baby girl, due in a few months. We were both over the moon when we found out the gender, but now things have gotten complicated, to say the least. See, when we first started talking about names, the boy name was immediately decided, Stuart Jr., after my husband. No problem there, it's a classic name and carries family meaning. But for a girl, things got murky. My husband suggested Stuarta. No, you're not having a stroke. Apparently his logic is that since Stuart ends in T, we can just add an A to make it feminine. I tried explaining why that doesn't quite work, how it sounds more like a furniture brand than a human name, how she'd be endlessly correcting people and explaining its origin. He's adamant, though, says it honours him while giving our daughter a unique name. I've suggested alternatives, feminine names that maybe share a similar sound or meaning to Stuart, names he's mentioned liking in the past, even just going back to the drawing board entirely, but he's fixated on Stuarta. Now, I love my husband dearly, and I understand wanting to honour family, but I can't imagine subjecting our daughter to a lifetime of awkward stares and endless questions about her unusual name. I also worry about potential bullying and the impact it could have on her self-esteem. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for refusing to budge on Stuarta? Is there any compromise I haven't considered? Help a soon-to-be mama out. Looking forward to your thoughts and, hopefully, some sanity checks. Almost forgot. Please, no suggestions for other tar names. The man clearly has a theme, and I need to gently steer him away from it, not fuel the fire. Oh, honey, let's get real for a second. Naming a child isn't about stamping your ego onto another human being. It's about giving them a piece of identity that they'll carry forever. Stuarta sounds like a recipe for a lifetime of eye rolls, and can you spell that for me? Moments. Your husband's heart might be in the right place, wanting to honour his name, but his head? Not so much. It's time for a serious chat about the reality of living with a name like that. It's not just about being unique, it's about the day-to-day life of your daughter. Stand your ground, because at the end of the day, it's her name, her identity, and her life on the line. Well, I could talk all day about this, but let's jump into the next post. I, male 17, live with my parents and my younger siblings. We were very close until recently. My first mum died when I was 6 days old. She developed eclampsia in late stages of the pregnancy with me, and she never recovered from it. A few weeks later, my dad packed up and moved with me because he couldn't stay where they were planning a life together. This left her family behind. She has parents, siblings, nieces and nephews, aunts, uncles and cousins, who were always a very tight-knit family. My dad met my adoptive mum when I was 7 months old. Out of insecurity on my mum's part and a desire to forget the future he had planned with my mum, contact between my biological maternal side was limited to once a year. My mum didn't want to share the role of mum. She knew my family would want to talk about my mum around me and would want me to know that she existed, but she didn't want to feel like she was less of a true mum. And my dad has just never gotten over the pain of losing my mum, and he buries the past and her to cope. I don't fully understand why they couldn't put me first in that decision, but they didn't. My childhood was mostly happy. It had some negatives like wishing I knew my family better or had known my mum. Also, I wasn't accepted by my adopted mum's family, so that was always fun. Then I had more contact with my family. It started with texting, calling and Zoom calls regularly, and then convincing my dad to let me go for a weekend here and there. He and my mum did not like it, and the decision confused my siblings too. I have loved getting to know them, and they have loved getting to know me. Grandparents' rights weren't an option for them because of that one visit a year, so seeing me more is huge for them. My parents really started to let me know how much they disliked all this extra contact. My dad said it's painful, and my mum told me she feels less important because I am chasing a relationship that ties to a mum I don't remember. A couple of weeks ago they told me I should think of them and my mum's feelings. I asked them how they would feel if they were in my mum's shoes or her family's shoes. If they died while their child was just a baby and they were erased by their spouse and his new spouse, would they be okay with that? And would they be okay if my siblings or I died with a newborn and they never got to be a real part of their lives? They refused to answer. I told them I didn't want to speak until they gave me an answer because they were being totally unfair to me. My parents are angry about this, and my siblings asked me why I had to make this such a big deal. So I posed the question, if one of us died and we never got to see their only child, would they be okay with that? It helped them to understand, but my parents don't like my no-talking thing. But all they want to talk about is this topic, and they also won't give me an answer. Am I the idiot? Look, I get it. Your parents, especially your adoptive mum, are in a tough spot. But here's the thing. They made a choice to limit your contact with your biological, maternal family out of their own insecurities and grief. That's on them, not you. You're 17, old enough to make decisions about who you want in your life. It's natural to want to connect with your roots, to know where you come from. Your parents asking you to consider their feelings is valid, but so is your desire to explore your family history. It's a two-way street. They need to understand that this isn't about them being replaced or less loved. It's about you expanding your sense of family. Their refusal to see your point of view, to even entertain the idea that they might be in the wrong here, is frankly selfish. They're letting their pain cloud their judgment, forgetting that at the heart of this is a kid just trying to piece together his identity. They need to step up, have a real conversation about this, and listen to what you're saying without making it all about their feelings. Well, I could talk all day about this, but let's jump into the next post. My dad and I, female 17, started therapy 3 weeks ago, and last week during our third session, I opened up bluntly about how I feel like my dad let me down and failed me by prioritizing being married and his own happiness. This was not the first time I tried speaking openly to my dad about this, but it's the first time he appeared willing to listen and the first time he took the harm it was doing to our relationship seriously. Let me explain. My mum died when I was just a baby, and my dad was a single dad until I was 4. It was then he met my stepmom, his wife, Sharon. Sharon was a divorced mum with a 9-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. They got married when I was 5. Sharon's kids / my step-siblings never liked me. They always hated me. When my dad and Sharon first got married, I thought of them as my siblings and loved them totally, but they were really mean to me. They'd say they hated me, that everyone hated me, that I should leave. They encouraged me to run away because nobody would miss me. They said I would never be their sister or their family, and I was a weirdo for calling them my siblings. Sharon noticed more than my dad, but I used to tell my dad, and when things got bad, I asked if we could leave. But he'd try and reassure me, but was very dismissive of how much it was hurting me. He told me we couldn't leave because Sharon was his wife, and we were all a family now, and you can't leave a family. Sharon only ever said anything when her kids made me cry. I have 2 half-siblings from my dad and Sharon. I was so excited when they were born, and I bonded with them and loved helping with them and playing with them. But then my step-siblings decided to use them against me, and they were older, and Sharon would let them do more, and eventually they told our half-siblings that if they wanted to do cool stuff with them, they had to say no to playing with me, and rejecting me became the normal thing. My younger siblings would repeat a lot of what my step-siblings would say to me. This continued even after my step-siblings moved out, because they would take our younger siblings out, or they would visit them and bring gifts. For the year to year, I have been withdrawn, and I stopped trying. I don't try to do anything with my younger siblings. I don't hang out with Dad like I used to, and my focus is on moving out. My dad started to notice late last year, and he sent me to a therapist and then decided family therapy was needed for the 2 of us. This is when last week happened. My dad looked really shocked at first, and he was apologetic. After we got home, Sharon asked me why I had to be so hard on my dad. My dad and Sharon argued about it. I spent the rest of the last week trying to be alone with my thoughts. Our next session is tomorrow. Sharon apologized for saying what she did, but reiterated that she feels like I handled it badly. My dad tried to talk to me since the appointment, but I don't know how to talk to him anymore without our therapist. Am I the jerk? Oh, honey. First off, let me say, your feelings are valid. Your dad and Sharon, well, they dropped the ball big time. It's one thing to find happiness after a loss, but it's another to ignore the emotional well-being of your child. Your step-sibling's behaviour was cruel, and it's clear neither your dad nor Sharon did enough to address it. Saying, "we're a family now," doesn't magically make it so, especially when actions don't back up those words. Your dad's shock. It's a wake-up call he sorely needed, but it's late, very late. Sharon's reaction is disappointing. Apologies are fine, but what you need is action and a genuine effort to make things right. You're not wrong for feeling hurt and wanting to distance yourself. It's a natural response to years of feeling sidelined. Your dad needs to step up, listen, and truly hear you, not just in therapy. Did you guys feel bad for the original poster? Let me know in the comments. But we must continue on, so here's the next post.